give me a happy marriage. That prayer cannot be answered. I'm not cursing anybody. The prayer can only be answered when you have done what you should do. God will not do. You can't ask God in prayer to do what He has already commanded you to do. You are wasting time. Leave everybody to their opinions. These lepers we need to commend them. Because they took risk. These guys are risk takers. The risk able bodies will not take, they took. You know, have you seen leper before? This is how they walk. Because there's no toes again. This is how they walk. If you've ever seen leper, there are no leper in Lagos very well. If you go to the north, you see plenty leper. It can take a leper minutes to trek from here to the end of the church. But because they were strong in faith and boldness, as they were getting closer, God began to join them. When they started, it was only them. So you have to start on your own. You have to be. So as they started, it was only, gradually God began to send down host of heavens. See, those sound they had is not their own feet. Their feet cannot make that kind of noise. Those sound they had were the sound of the feet of the host of heaven. Those ones that appeared when they came to take Elijah. And Gehazi saw everywhere full of Syrian soldiers. And the prophet came out and said, is it only prophet? Is it only the soldiers of Syria you saw? He said, you open your eyes very well. There are hosts of heaven. Those that are with us are more than those who are with them. 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 16. For greater is he that is in us. 1 John chapter 4 verse 4. Than he that is in the world. So the sound they had was a sound of the host of heaven that were with them. I prophesy on your returning back to work, returning back home, returning back to where that situation is waiting. They won't hear just the sound of your foot. They will hear the sound of the host of heaven. Can you imagine people that are carrying AK-47, carrying multi-ballistic missiles, pick race? For leper who are so harmless, they are not carrying anything. Harmless leper, nothing to. They can't even hold a sword tightly because all the fingers are gone. But host of soldiers, thousands of them, began to run for their life. They did not even wait to carry any silver. I prophesy the name of Jesus. You look little in the outside. You look smaller than the situation. You look like their enemy. Your enemies are bigger than you, more powerful than you. But God is joining force with you. He will give you surpassing victory. Surpassing victory. Every gang up against you at work, at home, He will give you surpassing victory over them. Lepers are just doing their own in faith. And they got there. I like that place that says, and there was nobody in the city. Nobody in the camp. You know why God likes to do these kind of things? Let me tell you. Why God likes to do these kind of things, because God likes to do things in a way that everybody will know He is the one that did it. He always wants to do it like that. It's deliberate. God likes to do things for you, for me, in such a way that everybody will know this cannot. If you hear that story, is it possible for the leper's feet to work? It's not possible now. Lie. But God always likes to do it so that they will say, despite he has a poor background. Despite his daddy and mommy did not raise him. Despite he was tormented throughout childhood. Despite those adversaries are bigger and stronger than him. Despite he didn't have a degree. Despite he failed several times. Are you following me? God likes to do things that way so that your story will be with despite. Despite his weakness. Despite how everything was against him. Despite. I didn't even tell you the title of my message. A winning life in the face of obvious defeat. A winning life in the face of obvious defeat. Let me just digress a little from my note. When David said, let me go and face Goliath, the king said, no, you are too small. You cannot. You don't even have experience. He said, but this man that doesn't have experience has used his hand to kill lion and bear before. The king said, okay, if it's true, okay. But please, when you are going, carry my sword, carry my shield. They put everything on him. He tried to walk, he couldn't walk. He said, please remove all this nonsense. They are too heavy for me. They said, then how do you want to face Goliath? Look at him. Goliath is not just big. He has people that help him carry extra armory, like a PA. How can you alone? Nobody is following you because nobody is ready to follow you as armor bearer. And you are now saying you will not go with sword. What do you want to go with? He said, let me use what I'm used to. He picked 5 stones. He's a boy that works a lot with catapult. And he said, let's go. And the king said, is that all you want to go with? He said, yes. He said, well, God help you. Now listen to this story. I'm sure the moment David came out with a stone and with some stones and sling, all the Jewish soldiers, all the armies officials say, oh. They will call Eliab, his elder brother, and say, oh, you have lost a brother. Oh, sorry, you have lost a brother. May his soul rest in peace. Because this is obvious defeat. Abi, they don't match. Goliath, the head of the handle of the sword of Goliath, according to Bible scholar, is close to 50 kg. That's about a bag of cement. They don't match at all. So God likes to do things that they will say, despite our past, despite all the downfalls he encountered, despite nobody was willing to help him, despite he wasn't connected enough, despite he's not one of the Omoniles, despite he didn't go to school too much. I would say despite the physical disability of the lepers, they won. God likes it when our testimonies comes with despite. This church growing in this capacity, you need to understand that when we are doing nothing extra, we do not even have anything extra to do. Despite that. Sometimes God gives victory to the weak. I preached a message many years ago. I said the weak can also win. Even the weak can win. Are the lepers not weak enough? Thank you, man. They are very, very, very weak. Despite their weakness. Despite your weakness, you will win. Despite your shortcomings, you will win. Despite all your disadvantages, you will still win. Despite all that is against you, you will win. Despite you are facing obvious defeat, you will still win. Shout, I'm a winner. Despite your poor background, your lack of degree, your lack of parental support, despite your skin color, you will win. Like our former Minister of Finance. When they brought the 2 pictures together, a black woman and a white woman, to head the World Trade, many of us said no. Because the white will never want the black person to be there. Despite her skin color, she won. Despite her gender, there is still discrimination against women, she won. I prophesy to someone here. You don't know anybody there, but you still win. Nobody is ready to help you, you will still win. If you're saying amen, let it be louder. You will say it will be said about your story that despite all the attacks from haters and critics, my wife's testimony is a very clear example of this. Despite the blackmail from everywhere. He said they are talking about me. How many people are talking about you? When I was dating my wife, people were calling me from everywhere in the world. Man of God, we had though. We say it cannot be you. No, what are you? No, it can't be you. I just laugh. I say, it's me. Now maybe this. Why are you going to do that kind of a thing? I said, do you want me to please you or please God? Church will scatter. Let the person that owns his church is the same person that said I should go ahead. So let him scatter his church himself. If he scatter the church, I will go and look for a job. I will go and work somewhere. And I'll tell him that you scatter what you started. So despite our lost marriage, despite that she's a divorce or he's a divorcee, despite, God looks for how to bring it that way, because you see, God likes to use the foolish things of this world. That is in God's character. That is in his nature. If you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, that is how God operates. He's a God who likes to show power. Just show power, how powerful he is. And you can't show how powerful you are in terms of prosperity or blessing financially. When my story is that my father is Dangote. Which testimony can I share here as a Dangote son? But I can share testimony because of my share guitar. Hey! Despite. Check through the Bible from Genesis. You always see that despite. He wanted to take Jericho. There are powerful women in Jericho, in politics, in business. He went to an allot. Sometimes God works with the ridiculous to do the miraculous. I know you and I have some few rubbish things that are gone on or going on, but you know that God can, despite that. Everybody say, I have won. Do you know the story now ended in 1 Samuel 17 verse 50? This is what 1 Samuel 17:50 said. God likes to show off, I told you. 1 Samuel 17:50, look at it. Let's read together. So David prevailed over the Philistines with a sling and a stone and struck the Philistines and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. God just wanted the world to know that you can win without sword. Look at it now, very clear. This boy practically carry 5 stones and catapult and faced a man that has that kind of experience with all those armory he has. The man, when he saw him again, the Bible says he disdained him. He despised him. God likes to start your story, the story of his children, that way. So that, God is a good script writer. They will disdain you. They will look down on you and say, this one. After everybody had concluded. I will never forget, many years ago, I was pastoring this church. We were still very young. And every Sunday, we'll be pushing my car. Every Sunday. And I was living in a 3-bedroom, 4 flats, All my neighbors change their car every year. I don't know how they do. They were so blessed people. Only me didn't. In fact, when I parked to that house, you will know that I don't belong there. You know how I know? I wanted to get married, so I quickly parked to a 3-bedroom flat. I begged the agent to wait for me to pay agency, but let's pay landlord so we can. That kind of arrangement, because the money was not complete. When we're bringing my load, they used Danfo to bring all my load, 3-bedroom flat. So when my neighbors saw that we're just bringing one mattress, for about 2-3 months, no cutting in this. When they just look at everywhere, they are looking at us. First small boy that wants to get married. Now I now got a car, and now God has now blessed me, and now the car now will now push on Sunday. One day I got annoyed. I said, God, this is not good. This thing you are doing for me is not good. Everybody will have kicked their own car and go to church. Me, I'm a pastor. They are not pastor. Me, I'm pastor. I'll now be pushing them. And people, you'll be seeing windows, they'll be doing like this, they'll be doing like this. So that day that I got hungry and I told God, you know what God told me? He said, I want all of them to see how you have been down to nothing. Say, I want them to see it. So that when I raise you, they will know I am the one who raised you. Most of my I'm talking about like how many years ago now? More than 13, 14 years ago, they still invite me for occasions. When they leave the house, they build a new house. I'm the one they will invite to come and dedicate it. They come to church to worship once in a while. One of them called me one day and said, Pastor, your life is the example we see. We read the one in the Bible, we didn't see it. But your own, we saw it. I prophesy, in your family, your story will be a testament. Among your friends, your own story will be a testament. Your story will be a reference point. Your story will inspire others. In the name of Jesus. Despite that his mother left him and abandoned him. Despite. So those despites are many. We can't mention all of them. But God deliberately allowed this despite to be in our stories.